Today we're going to be talking about writing argument papers. Argumentation is used everywhere. In an opinion article of a newspaper, the compelling persuasion of a magazine article, as well as the highly structured journal article written by a professor. But what is an argument paper? An argumentative essay expresses a certain position on a subject and supports it with evidence. This generally requires a student to investigate a topic by collecting, generating, and evaluating evidence. A persuasive essay normally begins with an introduction that includes a clear, concise, and defined thesis statement. Body paragraphs should begin with a topic sentence and include evidence that supports the thesis. Opposing arguments should be addressed as well, whether those arguments are refuted or acknowledged. The paper will finish with a conclusion that does not simply restate the thesis, but readdresses it in light of the evidence previously presented. So argument papers center around a thesis, but what is a thesis? A thesis statement declares what you believe and what you intend to prove. A good thesis statement makes the difference between a thoughtful research project and a simple retelling of facts. A good tentative thesis to refer to while you are researching will help you focus on your search for information. The thesis statement is typically a one-sentence statement located within the first or second paragraph, depending on the nature of your introduction. Remember, your reader will be looking for your thesis, so make it clear, strong, and easy to find. In Dorothy Barkin's essay, entitled The Bystander Effect, she addresses why witnesses to violent or criminal activities fail to react appropriately. She inserts her thesis at the end of her introductory material and then focuses on it for the rest of the paper. She states, "Complex psychological factors, which many are aware of, play an important part in the behavior of bystanders. Knowing about these factors can help people act more responsibly when faced with emergencies." This sentence makes it obvious that Barkin's argument will show us how psychological factors influence us as bystanders, as well as help us break out of this influence. Remember that a thesis statement is not a statement of fact, but rather an opinion or interpretation of facts that must be supported. Topic sentences should tie directly back to the thesis, showing us how the coming paragraph is necessary to prove the thesis. Topic sentences are sort of like thesis statements for your body paragraphs. A clear topic sentence will establish the main idea of the paragraph so that the reader understands what each body paragraph is about, as well as how it relates to the overall idea presented in the official thesis. The topic sentence is typically the first or second sentence of the paragraph, but if you feel a need to put it elsewhere, make sure it is still near the beginning. Dorothy Barkin uses topic sentences to introduce the idea she is addressing in each paragraph. Here is one example. Two factors appear to be the most important in understanding the reactions of bystanders to emergencies. First is the level of ambiguity involved in the situation. This sentence is strong because it allows readers to know exactly what will be addressed in the following paragraphs. It is obvious to readers that they will be reading research about the level of ambiguity involved in the reactions of bystanders. In order to present a fair and convincing message, you may need to anticipate, research, and outline some of the common positions that dispute your thesis. You need to be fair as you present and then refute these other positions. This can be done in a separate section of the paper towards the end, or else dispersed throughout your body paragraphs, following the main points that they oppose. In an essay arguing that violent video games encourage child aggression, opposing arguments would need to be represented. These opposing arguments would help ignorant readers have a better understanding of the situation and help hostile readers feel represented. For example, we could imagine someone arguing that competition is a good thing. Listen to how a student writer handles it in an essay about the effects of violent video games. Some may argue that violent video games simply allow an outlet for children's natural competitive instincts. This is true to an extent. Competition can be a good thing. However, the level of violence in some video games goes far beyond healthy competition and instead encourages negative aggression. By conceding that competition in video games can be healthy, hostile readers may be willing to be more understanding of the essay's argument. Also, uniformed readers will better understand both sides of the argument. The conclusion is the portion of the essay that will leave the most lasting impression on the mind of the reader. Therefore, it must be effective and logical. Do not just repeat your thesis. Do not introduce any new information in the conclusion. Rather, synthesize the information presented in the body of the essay. Restate why the topic is important, review the main points, and review your thesis. You may also want to include a short discussion of more research that should be completed in light of your work. In Barkin's essay, The Bystander Effect, she reviews a horrific case study where a woman named Kitty Genovese was stabbed to death while 38 people watch and do nothing. To wrap up the analysis of this bystander effect, Barkin writes the following conclusion. The more social scientists are able to teach us about how bystanders react to emergencies, the better chances that we will take appropriate action when faced with one. Knowing about moral diffusion, for example, makes it easier for us to escape it. If you find yourself witnessing an emergency with a group, remember that everybody is waiting for someone else to do something first. If you take action, others may also help. Also realize that any of us could at some time be in desperate need of help. Imagine what it feels like to need help and have a crowd watching you suffer and doing nothing. Remember Kitty Genovese. This beautifully restates the main points, as well as ends with a chilling reminder of the murdered girl. Such ending statements will drive your point home and leave the reader with a powerful impression. So far, we have looked at the formatting and some key components of persuasive writing. Now let's look at methods of persuasion. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle identified 3 principal ways writers or speakers can appeal to or convince their audience. These 3 appeals are logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos appeals to a reader's logic, ethos to their wish for a credible author, and pathos to the reader's emotions. By incorporating all 3 of these in your paper, you will have a balanced, powerful argument. As I said before, logos includes anything that appeals to the reader's logical or rational mind. To create a strong logic in your paper, use statistics, facts, and case studies. These concrete evidences will give weight to your paper. Then, fit these facts and case studies into a logical sequence. Barkin uses logos quite effectively in the bystander effect. Not only does she use many statistics, but she focuses her argument around the case study of Kitty Genovese's witnessed murder and backed it with a similar case study about rape. With these 2 strong examples, Barkin persuades the readers to believe that not only does this happen, but it happens consistently. She also fits these case studies into a logical structure by first explaining the effect, then analyzing the effect, and finally telling us how we can break out of the effect. Ethos focuses on the credibility and character of the writer. This is achieved in many ways. Ethos is achieved by giving a professional appearance, citing credible sources, treating opposing arguments fairly, and using a genuine professional tone. This means that your grammar and source citing should be clean and accurate. Also, make sure that the research you use in your argument is from a scholarly, credible source. Sadly, this does not include Wikipedia, About.com, eHow, or any of the quick helps. True research requires going to the university's library's homepage and searching with the academic search engines. Barkin uses the last point of using genuine professional tone very effectively. Consider the following paragraph. The more social scientists are able to teach us about how bystanders react to emergencies, the better the chances that we will take appropriate action when faced with one. Knowing about moral diffusion, for example, makes it easier for us to escape it. If you find yourself witnessing an emergency with a group, remember that everybody is waiting for someone else to do something first. If you take action, others may also help. Her reference to social scientists make her sound credible, and the general tone of her writing is intelligent. However, she also establishes her genuinely good character by pleading, "If you take action, others may also help." Another way of establishing ethos or credibility with the audience is to indicate your relationship to the topic. If you have expertise or personal experience with the topic, then the audience may trust you more than if you chose the topic randomly. For example, a doctor writing about preventing heart disease will have more credibility than someone who has no medical experience. Pathos has a very powerful force on your readers. It appeals directly to their emotions and can amplify the effect of your argument. You can create pathos by giving personal experiences in first person, and especially by using detailed descriptions and any experiences or examples used in the paper. Relating the story of another can also evoke emotion. Using personal stories isn't appropriate for all types of essays, so be sure to check the assignment guidelines. Barkin uses pathos very well in her essay. The most emotional story of the piece is the murder of Kitty Genovese. It would have been easy for her to gloss over this or say, "A woman was once murdered in an apartment complex and nobody bothered to call the police." Instead, Barkin goes into a painful, blow-by-blow account of the murder and the apparent indifference of the bystanders. By the time we are done reading this sequence, we feel a culmination of outrage and frustration for the bystanders and sympathy for the victim. However, sometimes emotional arguments can be overused and abused. Purely emotional arguments are a favorite trick of advertisers and politicians. In a persuasive essay, use emotional appeals with discretion. An argument based solely on emotion can diminish your credibility in an academic setting. So remember, when you write your argument paper, begin with a strong thesis and tie every paragraph back to your thesis with a strong supporting paragraph with a topic sentence. Represent the opposing arguments and conclude by restating your main points and thesis. Don't forget about the appeals to persuasion. Make sure you weave logos, pathos, and ethos throughout. With all of these tools, you are well on your way to convincing your audience. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any more questions, feel free to look at the other videos presented on this website, or come into the tutoring center. We're always here to help you.